That's the second time I've heard that this week.
What? When did you hear it again? Oh, did that happen on Monday?
Yeah.
I got there a little late. I must have missed it. I did see our banner scrolling at the bottom of Catfish Weekly. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say nothing. Let it roll. Hopefully somebody
Yeah.
will pick up on that and come check us out.
Exactly.
Got to be careful what you click on back in this on the media assets here on your page.
There's some stuff in there that we don't want to share.
So what's going on, Lyle? How you doing, bud?
I'm doing pretty good. It's I got to tell you, Mark, I finally had to take my shorts off and put a pair of jeans on, a long sleeve shirt this week.
You know what? A bunch of people I've been getting a bunch of calls from Missouri, and they wanted me to tell you thank you for doing that because they got tired of looking at them legs of yours.
Well, alrighty then.
Welcome to Panfish Nation, everybody. My name's Mark, co-host of the great Lyle Stokes. Thanks for joining us. We're going to talk a little bit about changing seasons and stuff like that. Probably a lot more and not stuff like that, which is what
Probably
we do.
so, yeah.
We might have an announcement for you guys next week, right, Lyle?
Maybe so.
Maybe so. So
Get
tune in. Make sure you check out next Wednesday's show. We might have a big announcement about the show. It's good news. Nothing to worry about. We ain't going nowhere.
Nope.
I owe Lyle a bunch of money, from all the shopping he does with his credit card for me.
Yeah,
so I'm kind of an indentured servant here on Panfish Nation.
Yeah, that's it. All right. Mark, before the show, I got to telling you, I've been losing lots and lots of jigs, and I started putting weed guards on them today to see if I can slow down the rate of loss. With all the water being so low, I try to fish around structure, but it's so low now you can't stay out of it. So I've been doing that all day. It was 30-mile-an-hour winds, and I wasn't going to go out there and try to do anything in that.
You got a sample to show the folks here in the chat?
As a matter of fact.
Hold on, let me give you a solo here. Let me see. Oh, wait a minute. How come there's no? Hold on a second. Let me just.
And he's gone. What do you think?
No, I just did that to give you a solo. There's no. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. They're changing everything around on us here.
Yeah, they are. But them, that's monofilament, and I told you before that I do it different than most people do. And when I get done, they ain't coming out because I use UV resin in it and to put the light to it, and you can't pull them out. So I'm pretty excited to try them. It's going to be 35 degrees in the morning, but I'm going to try it anyhow.
Heather's asking you to speak up a little bit, Lyle.
Speak up, speak up. Let me try it. Let me see if that helps any.
A little bit. Let me ask you, what pound mono did you use to make those?
I tried two different kinds of mono. I used some 20-pound and some 40-pound. I think both of them will work, but I think the 40 will deflect it better. But I wonder about crappie don't bite like bluegill do. They inhale the bait. Bluegill bite. And it shouldn't make any difference which monofilament you use. It should get it regardless. But if it's too stiff, it might not collapse, and if it's not stiff enough, it might not kick you off of the brush. So I'm playing around with some stuff to see which one works out the best for me.
You got to find that sweet spot, I imagine, that works and doesn't.
Yeah.
After the show, what we'll do is we'll go on PetSmart.com and we'll get you a 10-gallon fish tank you can fill up. We'll order you a bunch of stuff. We'll even put some goldfish in there for you. We'll order, like a pirate ship. We'll throw in there, and you can use that for testing your jigs.
No, we're not doing that.
Come on.
I'm not cleaning no damn aquarium. That ain't gonna happen. Butterflies in the sunshine. Welcome.
Hey, what do you say? I say hello to everybody.
All All right, let's do that.
Let me get the participants pulled up here. There's Butterflies and Sunshine. How you doing, dear? There's Miss Cindy Stokes. How are you doing, Cindy? There's our buddy Greg Burgess. I wonder what temperatures Greg got. Greg, let us know how hot it is down there in Louisiana.
I'm guessing 75 or more.
I imagine so. I would say there's Bugman just came in. What's up, Bugman? Heather Stokes. How you doing, Heather? I hope you're feeling better. I hear you had a tooth pulled. Jeremy Colvin Fishing. There's my buddy Jeremy, hell of a crappie fisherman and guide. Look him up on Facebook if you're looking for a guide. I believe Jeremy's in Kentucky, if I remember correctly, right?
I think that's right.
I think that's right. There's Lance McCougai. How you doing, Lance? What's up, buddy? He's got his live show every Sunday night with the rest of the River Cats Tackle crew. There's Mark Barnum. How you doing, Mark? Parker Pursuits. There's my buddy Jerry. Jerry sent me a picture of a hell of a fish he caught this weekend. I think it was like a 70-pounder or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was great. 70 or 75. It was
Heck of a fish. Oh, and there's Schmieder of the Cedars. How you doing, Schmieder? What's going on, bud? Glad to see you in here like every week. And I did see the crappie kid in here. He was the first one in here. If you're watching the background, thanks for coming in. Mark says, Lyle, you should try fluorocarbon. That's probably a good idea. Mark,
that, but I didn't have any of that, and I did have the mono.
You know, we can cure that too, Lyle.
No.
You can cure that too. Fluorocarbon's a heck of a lot stiffer, which is why I used to spool my salmon rods with fluorocarbon, the whole spool on a spinning reel. And after one season, it got so stiff it was unbearable.
Really?
What I like to use fluorocarbon for is leader, definitely, especially when using crankbaits or blade baits. Because that stiffer line, it helps when you're casting to keep the line from getting caught up in those treble hooks. That's always a pain in the butt.
Yeah. I never used fluorocarbon for anything in my entire life. For whatever reason, I just never seen a need for it. Monofilament or braid always done everything that I needed to do, and it's a little pricey, but it's not terrible, I guess.
Well, I use the Albright knot. I tie directly to braid with it, and it seems to work well. I started using fluorocarbon leaders when I really did a lot of like stock or trout fishing, Lyle, because they seem to be a little more line sensitive. So I would get fluorocarbon in like a 4-pound test or so, and that would do the trick. I would use floating Berkley trout bait, the eggs, put 2 of those eggs on like a number 6 hook with like 14 inches of fluorocarbon and 4 pounds, and that would float it right off the bottom. So that would be the trick. You know what? I couldn't tell you. Does fluorocarbon float or does it sink? I don't recall.
I do not know. I do know that there is certain kinds of monofilament that floats or semi-floats, and some that just sink like rocks.
Most mono supposedly floats, but I use the Sufix Elite, and it doesn't always float. It's a slow sink with that. So
yeah,
definitely.
I've been putting catfish rod out, one catfish rod, whenever I'm crappie fishing. What was it? Last week I caught a 12 and a 14. And I caught a smaller one, probably 8 or 10 pound one. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday.
Nice.
And I had 3 on. One of them broke my line. The first one broke my line. The second one made a big loop out in the center of this lake, and I worked it back. I'm using a light action rod with 6 inches broke off the tip, and I just put a new tip on it. And that's what I'm catfishing with instead of a catfish rod, because it's so much fun. If I'm catching them, what I'm looking for is channel cat about like this, but I haven't been getting any of them. But anyhow, this has made a big old loop out through there. Damn near it spooled me, and I got it back to about 30 or 40 feet from the dock, and it took off towards the dam, and it just spit the hook out. I couldn't slow it down. It just took off. I mean, the drag on a reel wouldn't even stop it. But we're talking about 1,000 series
Yeah,
What do
you like those. You like those small reels, so that'll do it. You'll run out of line real
Those
quick on the
500
tube.
series.
Yeah, we've had that talk before. I kind of stick with the 3000 series on no matter what I'm doing, unless it's ice fishing. Then you don't really need it. But
They make all my rods out of balance.
well,
Heavy.
that definitely has something to do with it too. Because I got like two rods that I have 3000 series reels on them, and they're a little heavier reels. They're a little bit. I think they're the presidentials. They're a little heavier, so they do throw them off balance. But if I'm using them for channel cats, like I do on those catfish and carp rods, which I love using for channel cats because it's just fun to fight them on that softer and lighter tackle that can actually handles it fine. But they're sitting in a rod holder, so it don't really matter. If I'm constantly casting, like if I'm casting to bluegill or to crappie or to walleye or something, definitely a balanced rod and reel combo is the way to go. I don't care what anybody says. I agree with you.
That's correct. But I really like the 500 series, and 4-pound test is about all I ever use, except on that one rod. That, like I say, it's got 6 on it, but that one took off yesterday, and I mean, it was gone. There was no slowing it down. But the next one I got, these dock rails are about, I don't know, 3.5 foot off of the bottom of the floor up to the top of their metal tube, like 1.5 inch square tubing. And every section of that, there's an opening about, I don't know, 6-8 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And it jerked it, almost got the rod over top of the rail, and then it fell down between this opening. And the only thing that saved it before I got to it was the handle on the rod caught on one side of that. And,
you got to be careful too.
It didn't fight at all after I just reeled it in.
I had a channel cat take a crappie rod of mine back in the day, and I was fishing on a dock like that, and the sections all the rails get broken up by sections of the dock, and it fell in between there just right, and that channel cat snapped that rod right in half. So be careful for sure.
Oh yeah. They'll get you. I
see a lot of the guys that do the dock fishing here. They actually have rod holders that clamp right onto the rails.
What I was just getting ready to say, thinking about trying to devise something like that,
or even make some if you got some time. Get some like 4-inch. I see a lot of guys here that fish for, especially burbot, use like 4-inch 4-inch PVC, and they cut it in half and they cut a notch and a hole in it. And then they just kind of use a C clamp and they clamp it right to the rails. It works pretty good for them. So
that'll work. Yeah.
Let me say hello to Darren. What's going on, Darren? How you doing?
Josh,
see if anybody else came in. Going through, kind of falling behind in chat here.
Angling.
What's up, Shark Smith? How you doing? Thanks for coming in. We appreciate having you. Jerry Parker says, I use fluorocarbon when drop shotting for smallmouth or as a leader when I fish saltwater. There you go.
What do you do with them smallmouth? Use them for bait?
Smallmouth makes a heck of a sandwich, Lyle. And they are my favorite. I like catching. All right, now I'm going to make a confession here. I like catching smallmouth better than smallmouth bass better than white bass, largemouth bass, rock bass, any of that. Any of the bass family, I'm a fan of smallmouth. They're fun to catch, and they're tasty too. They make a heck of a fish sandwich. I ain't gonna lie.
They do.
There's our buddy Creole. There's Josh over the Weekend Angler. He had a great video he just put out.
I thought that was very well done.
Mm-hmm. There's Aaron. How you doing, Aaron? What's going on? Who fishes in the dead of winter? That's crazy. I used to do that. I might do it some more. I might do that.
As long as the water's not hard, I'll do it.
I'm hoping we get a good winter this year. I hear we're going to get a lot of snow. That might have something to do with it. Now, I got my bait tank put away yesterday, Lyle. I think I told you the story via Messenger. Listen to this, folks. So I haven't touched that bait tank in a while. I didn't know I had any bluegill left in there. I went to empty it out, And I got 6, I think there was 6 bluegill left in there. They're still alive and kicking. So I guess I got that bait tank set up right. So I scooped them up. I kind of dispatched them as kindly as I could, put them in freezer bags. So now I got some channel cat bait for this weekend. So we'll take them with and see if we can turn them frozen bluegills into hot and crunchy catfish fillets for sure.
That'd be good. That'd be good. Like I say, that's what I've been trying to catch is channel cat or small blues, pan size or so. But I haven't caught any of those. I've been catching the bigger ones. But
well, I take my bait tank and I take it. I got a storage place that I keep it in. Keep a lot of the stuff that I had to move out of my garage in order to get the boat in there. And the reason why I bring that up is because right next to where I keep that bait tank was my ice fishing sled and auger and my rod case and all of that. And it got me to thinking, since I got my knees taken care of, we might have to do a little ice fishing this year. So.
Excuse me. There you go. Yeah, you got your knees done. Now it should be good.
Mark says, get some dry fly floatant and put it on your leader to keep it from sinking fast. All right. I don't know what that is. I'll have to look that up.
It's sort of a wax.
Is it?
Sort of. It's not really wax, but it's sort of like that. Got heaters in our boat. Yes, sir, buddy Bob. I guarantee it. When it gets cold, them heaters feel pretty good.
Aaron says that he has a buddy that works and builds trailers, and he gets diamond plate and he welds square tubing on it and clamps it to the railing, I guess for rod holders. There you go.
There you go. Yep, that would be all right.
Lance says, here there's an old timer that makes rod holders for salmon fishing out of wood. It slides onto the railing. There you go. I'm sure you can find all sorts of designs online.
Oh, yeah, I'll bet so. Creole says it's supposed to get down to 46 there tonight. That's like freezing cold to them.
That kind of makes me happy to hear them getting some cold weather down there, but I'm not going to be mean about it. Josh asked me, he says, how did you not see fish in there, Mark? Well, I got a Rubbermaid stock tank, Josh, which is black. And in a dark garage, it's really hard to see the fish in there. So that's exactly how I didn't see it.
Yep.
No, actually, Josh, the water was crystal clear. I was surprised. Filter was pretty dirty, but the water was crystal clear.
Benoit Fishing Outdoors has joined us. Happy birthday, Allison.
Happy birthday, Allison. I was just going to say that too.
It is going to warm up next week here, Mark. We was talking about how cold it is and the rain that we've had the last couple of days. But next week it's going to be back up to 65, so that won't be so bad.
I think we got highs in the upper 50s all next week. I was looking at it right now. It is 47 degrees, which isn't too bad. I was out running around all day today. And then, yeah, everything lows in like 30 degrees in the morning and lower 50s until next week, then upper 50s. So, I mean, that's the kind of weather we're supposed to get this time of year. So I'm happy to see it. I've been having all sorts of issues with one of my puppies is right behind me. She injured one of her eyes. So I have to give her drops 8 times a day. So getting out of the house has been awfully rough. So the wife will be home this weekend. Hopefully I can get out Saturday and do a little fishing. I'm kind of looking forward to it.
I bet so. Yeah. How long's it been since you was out?
2 weeks, I think, since I've been out. There's Crappie Kid. What's going on?
Yeah, he was one of the first ones to come in. 38 in the morning.
38 in the morning where Cindy's at. So the weather's getting cold now, Lyle. Fishing the seasons. One thing I know that's happening for sure, I talked to a couple guys, and the lakes and rivers are starting to do what's called their yearly turn, which means the weeds are dying back for the most part. Thermoclines are going away. We never have them in the river here, but we do get them on the lakes. The last lake I was on, I think I was telling you, made me feel a little uneasy because it had depths of 120 feet, but there was definitely still a thermocline there to see. So hopefully that's gone. Not that I'm going to fish in that water, even though there's lake trout in that lake, which would be interesting to catch, but I'm not going to go after and chase them. If I'm going to go fish that lake, it's going to be for some of them big panfish or some walleye, because they got a real good population out there at Lake Geneva. I've been getting told by a couple of my friends that are fishing that the weeds are dying back. So keep that in mind when you're fishing, folks. That's the key to fishing this time of year, especially for panfish like crappie and perch and bluegill even. I saw a great video. Did you see Flopping Crappie put a video out on how to find crappie and panfish on side imaging, Lyle?
I've seen that it's out. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
I recommend it. You guys check it out. It's a good video. Also, I did share a video on my community tab, Lyle. I meant to send it to you, and I think I'm going to. It's probably the best video on how to service and change your wheel bearings on your trailer by Chris Fix. It's a huge channel. I think it's got hundreds of thousands of views already, and he just released it. But if you guys want a link to that, you can catch it on the Catfish and Crappie channels community page. I got the link right there. I advise if you're thinking about servicing your trailer bearings before or after the winter, if you're putting your boat up, that you check that out. I mean, he really goes into a couple of things that I never even did. How often did you ever change the races on your hubs?
Every time I change the wheel bearings.
You did? See, I never did that. So now I know that that's something I got to do. Yeah. I need to do like Josh does and go over to Harbor Freight and get one of them race tools, because they seem to work pretty good. He says you can use a socket that fits in there perfectly, but he recommends for putting them back in there to get one of the tools. So I'm going to have to get a hold of one of them.
I just use a long punch, brass punch.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to mess up those races at all.
Really, you won't mess the race up with a steel punch, because the race is so much harder than the punch, but it'll send off flying sparks and pieces of metal at you.
Yeah.
That's what gets you. I see V. Smith has joined us, and Jeff Beal.
Jeff Beal, how you doing, Jeff? How you doing? V, what's going on? Crappie Kid says the key to filling a boat with crappie here is a brim buster with live minnows, and we know that he's down in Florida. And speaking of which, there's a guy down there. I think he's in Kissimmee, Florida, and he fishes on TikTok, or used to, every morning live. And he would have like 16 of them brim busters, aka cane poles, on a pontoon boat or on his regular boat, all the way around his boat. And that guy went through more minnows than anybody I've ever seen in my life. But he would fill that boat with crappie, that's for sure.
There you go. Well, crappie fishing's been good so far. Not catching the numbers, but the fish are bigger right now. So I'm very happy about that. And that has to do with our topic, fall fishing and stuff, because as the change in weather, as it gets colder, the bigger fish start moving in, because that's where the bait's going to be, up in the warmer water.
Jeff Beal says, this year someone stole a bearing buddy off my trailer. How sad is that? Well, you know what? They fall off of trailers, Jeff. They will definitely fall off of trailers. I don't know anybody's just stealing one, but if you or someone was stepping on it to get into your boat to look around for stuff, that could have happened too. But that's how them things fall off.
Lee Reed says, howdy to the Geritol boys. He can't be that far behind us. He just can't be.
I think he's older than me, but I ain't gonna say.
Oh, Parker, you're so bad.
What did Parker say?
I'll wait till you get to it.
His mind's always in the gutter. And then people wonder why I give him grief every time I see him in a live chat.
I did.
Lee says, nah. I don't even know how old Lee is.
But yeah, the bite has been good. Like I say, bigger fish, not the numbers that we was getting earlier. Hi, Chrissy. But you can't have it all. I mean, you got to pick your poisons, and I'll take the bigger fish. There for a long time, we was catching great numbers, but a lot of them was really small. Now I'm not catching very many small fish, but the numbers have really went off. So.
This time of year, I usually do pretty good. If I can get out on the chain, I just saw one of my memories come up on Facebook last week of a trip that me and my buddy Tony went out there, and we put 74 keeper crappie in a boat. That was a pretty crazy trip. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We did that in about 4 hours. That was a good time.
That is a good time. That's a lot.
Mark Barnum says, like I told you, Lyle, you got some catching up to me.
Yeah, he's ahead of me in age.
Josh, we're not going to highlight Josh's comment.
They have been good eating, Lee. They really have been.
I actually cooked up some walleye 2 nights ago, Lyle. I had to test out that and some shrimp. I sent you the picture of the shrimp I cooked.
Yes, you did.
It was pretty damn tasty, I have to say. Got a new deep fryer to replace the old one that we did on the Catch and Cook show. That one we got at our wedding shower. So we had it for 30 years. Did I say last week was our anniversary, Lyle, on the show?
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to say that 30 years, and that thing lasted a long time. So I got the exact same one, and it wasn't cheap, that's for sure. But I did find it on sale, so that was pretty good.
What kind did you get?
I forget the DeLonghi one. The only reason why I got it, Lyle, is because it's got a spout on the bottom of it. So when you're done cooking and the oil cools off, put it right back in the bottle you got it from, all said and done.
Yep.
It all comes apart, and it's stainless steel, and it goes in the dishwasher except for the element, and the thing cleans up easy as pie.
Very nice. I like easy.
So what are you doing different now that the seasons are changing, Lyle?
Putting more clothes on.
That's it?
The water's so low, Mark. That's the reason for the deal with the jigs today, because I've been losing so many baits because I'm hung up all the time. So I would normally cast to a brush pile, and then I would count down to 3 or 4 or 5, depending on which spot I was at, and get as close to the bottom as I could. Now I'm not. I'm just counting down to 2, so that I'm not letting the jigs sink as much. I still using 1/32 ounce jig heads, but I will be probably going to 1/64 of an ounce before long.
Going lighter and slower, if anything. That's exactly what I do too.
If I reeled in any slower, I would just have to stop and let it pendulum down.
Well, hey, what's going on, Solo? How you doing? And there's our buddy Troy. How you doing, Troy? What's going on?
Troy, I used a slip cork yesterday, floating about 2 foot below the cork with a jig, and boom, hit 4 right off the bat. And I only got hung up once or twice. One of them was because it took me into some stuff, and another time I just, I hit one of the things that stick up out there. It's so low. This summer I could fish over top that brush pile and reel it back in without getting hung up, but every once in a while now I'm getting hung up every time. So that was the reason I went to the slip cork. And there was a couple of times and it no more hit the water than the cork was gone. I mean, pretty interesting. I enjoyed that. Let's face it, guys, there's not too much that's more exciting to watch a bobber get slammed under the water. That's pretty fun.
It's
is.
fun when you got like a half a pound bass underneath one and a flathead hits it. That's really gets the adrenaline pumping. I got that rod that you built for me, and that's specifically my float rod for flathead. And I'll tell you what, when I get hooked up into one with that rod under a float, that's always a good time, especially at night with the little LED light on there. It's a lot of fun, I'll have to say.
Yep, I like float fishing for catfish. That's the last the last 2 times I was at Mendota. That's basically all I did was float fish, and it was a great time with them channel cats. So I'm
A
really
lot of fun.
excited about float fishing. I enjoy it. Now, for me, when I'm float fishing, I'll cast out past the brush pile and try to drag it back right over the top of it. And just let it set a minute and then reel a little bit and let it set a minute and reel a little bit. Usually when it stops is when they hit it for me. But I know every body of water and every school of fish are a little bit different from the next.
Well, that's definitely one of the things that I do when the weather changes like this. It's in the summer, in the dead of summer, you throw that bobber out there, and they either hit it when it's stopped or they hit it when it's moving. In this time of year, especially for panfish, I'll do like a little tick, and then stop. Two little ticks and then stop. So even with walleye, a lot of times you're lifting your rod up to get that bait off the bottom of the water, get it to sit in that first foot of water column off the bottom, and that's when it'll hit it, especially when it's coming down. This time of year, do 2 smaller, pulls off the bottom and let it sit up in that water column the same way. But I've such better results just by adding those 2 small ones rather than the big pull on that bait off the bottom. Going from like almost a full swing to 2 half swings, it makes a big difference.
There's something else I've been meaning to try, and I haven't had the opportunity yet. Like I say, it's been so windy and it's raining all the time. But you had told me about putting a split shot on the head of the jig, and I want to try that. I don't know how that'll work out, or as low as the water is for me right now, because I don't want it to sink too fast and get down in all that crap. But I want to try that.
What I meant was, when it's real windy outside, let's say you still want to fish, let's say a 1/64 ounce jig. I'll put a split shot like a foot or 2 above it, and that'll hold that line a little steadier in the water and still give that 1 foot of play and that slow fall rate beneath that split shot, and that usually will help. Also,
Right.
you want to fish either into the wind or with the wind to your face or the wind to your back. It gets really hard fishing anywhere with the wind crossing you. That's when you get those big bows in your line.
Yeah,
You can't tell when you're getting hits and stuff too.
that's one of the issues that I have. This little lake that I've been fishing a lot. The wind changes direction about every minute or two. It'd be from the east 1 minute, and the north the next minute, the south, and then the west, and it'll change a dozen times a morning, and you never know what's going to happen. But I hate them bows in my line because you can't control where that jig's at. You just can't.
It also takes up a lot of the time you need to set that hook. You
That's
get
right.
that slop in the line, and you're not going to
Yep.
be able to get a good hook set. Jeff's got a question here. Lila says, "What's your favorite color to use for a fall jig?"
Right now, I've been catching them on several different colors, but the one that's been the most productive for me this fall has been a 2-tone green with dark green on the top, light green on the bottom. Probably next to that is a chartreuse and white has been really good. Earlier it was pink. You just couldn't do wrong with pink, but that has kind of changed for me. Hey, look at here, Realistic Fishing has joined us. Glad to see you in here tonight, Alex.
What's going on, Alex? How you doing? Keeping it realistic.
That's right.
He's got some good videos out there. I've been watching him lately a lot. So, he's from the area and he's popped into a couple of my lives. It's always good to see him come in any of the shows that I'm on. So, now, my favorite, all right, right now it's still not cold enough, but I'm trying to keep colors natural as possible. I still have these jigs that I showed off. No, I brought them out there. I'll keep natural jig colors. I'll go with a silver or a gold. Monkey milk's good all year long, but the colder it gets, I go to a gold jig head and a red body. For some reason, that just it hits different over here. I'm talking when it's freezing degrees for a high temp and there's still open water, or ice fishing. That hammered gold jig head or disco gold jig head works really good with either a red wedgie or a red I forget the name of the Bobby Garland jig that's red. It's a red and silver one that I use. There's a name for it. You have to forgive me, but that works really good. Alex has got a good question here. He's from Realistic Fishing. He says, I like fishing 1.5 inch jerk baits in the fall. Y'all fish any hard baits for panfish? Absolutely.
I've got them, but I haven't resorted to them yet this year. I have a whole box full of them, but I haven't tried them yet. I was getting ready to answer that, and I'm glad you brought it up because hard baits work really good sometimes, especially if you're trolling, pulling the cranks behind the boat. You can do good with them on crappie.
The jerk baits work really well because you can do that, jerk pause on them, and that just seems to set them fish off. And that double pull and pause kind of has their number. Just slow the pulls down and make them a little shorter this time of year, and that usually works pretty good for me, especially with crappie like them. I've caught tons of perch using jerk baits like that here on the river. Nothing of real size, but I've caught plenty of that way. Catch everything from Lyle's favorite fish, a drum, using those jerk baits. I use a little Rapalas. I don't know what number they are, but they're like 2 inches long and they work really well. They're kind of light to cast. So if you're casting with 4 or 6 pound tests, it isn't too bad. My only thing is those baits aren't real cheap. If I'm throwing something on like 4 pound tests like that, I'm a little weary. So I'll use an 8 pound test with maybe even a split shot on the front, as long as you keep in mind that split shot's going to point that bait downward. So I've seen a lot of guys do that too, put split shots on the front of them so they're pointed down. When they're fishing a little deeper in the water column, and get them baits down a little faster too. So,
Mark, I'll tell you something else that works really, really good for crappie this time of year. Beetle spins.
oh,
Them things, they'll catch any kind of fish, but the flash in them, I think, makes them think that it's minnows coming around. Of course, they won't do any good in they've stocked a bunch of them fathead minnows in there, and they're dark. They put a truckload of them in.
Oh, wow.
Here a few weeks ago, and the next morning they was all over that dock I've been fishing. I mean, they was just swimming around there, and you just watch a crappie come up and just gobble them up, man. It was wild.
Parker says in Missouri, lots of trout stocking in urban lakes begins with a slip cork with a micro jig is a great way to get kids interested in fishing. Pretty consistent action. Yeah, those stalker trout, they're fun to catch. They're flaying and stuff. Now back to the beetle spin. The beetle spin, that's a small bait, right, Lyle?
You get them in many different sizes, but the ones I like are small. Yeah,
the small ones, and they have a pretty decent sized blade. And the reason why I believe they work well in the fall is that blade keeps that bait up in the water column.
It does.
No matter how slow or fast you retrieve it, it's a consistent, fall rate and suspension rate, rate of suspension for it. So they work pretty good. You want to keep that bait in front of those fish, especially if you're fishing weed lines. If you're marking fish on your side imaging that are on top of the weeds, there's nothing better than just casting over them, and they'll come up out of those weeds if they're in them to get them, as long as you give them enough time to realize they're there and meet their sluggish habit this time of year. So
that's right. That's exactly right. And beetle spins, you can control the depth of them by your speed of your retrieve, or even as much as how you hold the tip of your rod up. You can adjust the depth that you're going either way with those. But right now for crappie, the slower the better. It just they'll take it if it's slow enough. If it's too fast, they just won't mess with it. And I think it's because the minnows don't move that fast.
Yeah. And there's bait everywhere in the weeds this time of year. All that bait came in. The weeds will be full of them, whether you can see them or not. If you want to prove that to yourself, throw a cast net onto a weed line, and if you don't come up with shad, move 100 feet. You're going to come up with shad. Them bait fish are there, 100%.
You know,
and they're thick.
Yeah, you know this lake I'm fishing, Mark's a conservation lake, but that the Missouri Department of Conservation owned, and this one is very well taken care of. I mean, for one reason is they have a huge just below the lake they have a huge what am I trying to think of the name of this, where they grow them fish, a hatchery. They have, it's got, I don't know how many ponds on it, a lot, as far as you can see down this spot that we got them, and little roads go through there, and now they're all empty now, but they distribute them out along all of the conservation lakes that they stock throughout at least this part of the state, maybe more than that, because they got a lot of trucks that haul them out of there and take them to different lakes and things. But they really take care of this little lake. The other day, walked out on this dock, and what did I see? 2 concrete blocks and about 3.5 foot of cedar tree. So I don't know if somebody caught it and pulled the rope up with their rod and reel or what, but sitting right on the dock, still sitting there. Crazy.
There's my little community lake here, the electric only lake that I used to fish a lot in my smaller boat. Haven't had my big boat out there. I don't think I could get it loaded back on that little ramp over there. But anyways, there used to be a little pile of logs right off of this island that I used to love to fish, and that little log jam that was right off the corner of this island on the point used to produce a lot of crappie, a lot of bluegill for me. Some kids got tired of losing their bass lures in that pile of wood. They pulled all that stuff out of there, man. I could have killed them. It was sitting up on the island. I go to throw it back in there, and the kids come out. They're like, "What are you doing? We just pulled that out." And I kind of explained to them what they did wrong, and they put it back in there. But the fishing never was the same. That's for sure.
No, it takes long. Once it's moved, it takes a long time for them to get readjusted to it.
And I wonder why that is.
I don't know. If you any kind of structure, the longer it's been there, the better it is for any kind of fish, especially catfish. Old barges, it's been sitting around forever. Some of the best structure there is to fish for catfish. But you know, if they just moved them in last week, probably ain't got no fish under them.
Yeah, it takes a while. Yeah. Heather asks, "Hey Mark, can you make your jigs the same color as the Chiefs?" I sure can. I sure can.
Ask me
that. Parker says the tried and true beetle spin catches everything. One of the easiest artificial baits to use. I have to agree with you.
Yep, that is correct. Greg Burgess says, "Wow, this time of year, these small beetle spin catches freshwater crappie and saltwater special trout like crazy."
I think he meant speckled trout. That's on my list. I like to go fishing. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, beetle spins will catch anything that swims. I've caught channel cat on them, everything else over the years. And like I say, they make them a variety of different sizes. So, but the small ones right now I think that they look like a minnow swimming through the water. You got a little flash, you got a little body, and that's what these crappie and bluegill are after. And I've caught a lot of bluegill on beetle spins.
My favorite beetle spin color has to be the black and gold.
That's pretty good.
That's
like
pretty
the
much the
black.
only color I've ever used now that I'm thinking about it. I think I might have had pink at one time, but me and pink don't get along when fishing. That's another story for another day.
I got to tell you, about a month ago, maybe a little longer, if you wasn't using pink with a black head on it, you wasn't catching no crappie. They wouldn't take hardly anything else, and then it went to this green and black, and it's been very consistent. Like I say, black on top, green on the bottom. I know that resembles a bait fish, maybe a little bluegill or a little baby bass. I don't know what. It doesn't matter. It works, and that's been really hot this fall.
You can't go wrong with an inline spinner either, Lyle.
That's true. Little mitts are hard to beat too.
Yeah, the little Panther Martins, the small ones,
Yep.
they were great because they're so small and so light. They stay up in the water column, and you can retrieve them so slow it hurts, and they'll still stay up in the water, and the blades will turn.
That's right. That's the way it's got to be, though. I mean, they're not going to. They are not going to chase something down when they can get something that's a lot easier to get. So, and I understand that. But we're not, I tell you what, I'm not seeing snakes. They used to see them just every once in a while, either in the water or laying on the concrete as you walk down. Ain't been seeing none of them.
Well, as soon as it gets colder, they seem to go away. So they got to hide somewhere and keep warm. See, Greg even agrees with me. Greg says, Mark, down here it's black and green, which is the best. So
yeah, they're good. Roadrunners are great baits. Yeah, you can throw them a long way.
Now, what's your opinion on live bait this time of year, Lyle?
I just don't use live bait.
No.
I mean, minnows. If you're where you can throw a cast net and catch a bunch of the little bitty shad, that would be ideal, because that's what they eat every day. But minnows, they always work good. There's people that don't use nothing else. One reason is I like catching them on the jigs. The other reason is any of the conservation lakes, like I've been fishing, they don't allow you to have any live. You're not allowed to bring anything live in other than fishing worms. If you come in with minnows, you got to kill them before you use them. What's the point? I mean,
yeah, we have a lake like that called Three Oaks here, which is an old quarry that I fished there once. Caught a bunch of pike. I mean, it was ridiculous. I think I caught like 25 pike in like 3 hours. That was crazy.
yeah.
But yeah, you can't use live bait there. They'll let you use dead minnows, like you were saying, or like the ones you buy at Walmart or whatever. And that'll work pretty good too. But I was catching them on cut bluegill and stuff while I was there, and it was pretty simple on an easy catfish rig, though. Pike fishing gets to be pretty good this time of year too. Now, the reason why I mentioned live bait is because I know definitely that walleye, at least in this part of the country, the colder the water gets, the more they like minnows. You can use worms up to a point, but they won't touch them after a while. So you got to actually go and switch to a minnow if you're going to use it.
That's right. Troy says, leave minnows at the bait shop for folks that can't jig. Oh.
To be honest with you, I don't like using minnows. I actually hate using minnows, but
I hate buying them.
Yeah, no kidding.
I can remember buying them damn things for 35 cents a dozen. Now what are they, like $6 a dozen or something?
It's like, I don't know, 3 dozen for like, or 4 dozen for $16. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's. I don't need them that bad.
Mark says, I catch too many of those Lyle trout, aka bass, on them little beetle spins.
You do catch a lot of bass on beetle spins too, but yeah, like I say, beetle spin will catch anything. They're a great bait. I love inline spinners too, though. I really do. I catch a lot of stuff on those over the years.
I have a St. Croix trout rod that I've had forever. And that's kind of my go-to for those super light Panther Martin inline spinners. That thing is so fun to catch panfish on that sucker that I don't know. I can't stand it. It's so much fun. But it's a super light rod. It's an ultralight. It's kind of like a noodle rod at the tip with a little bit of backbone, and it was worth the price of admission exactly. I wonder what they cost now. It was, like $80 when I bought it, 10 years ago. So
About 130 now, I think.
I imagine so, but
Maybe more.
I know you like the blanks they use on all those St. Croix rods, so you can't go
I
wrong.
built a lot of St. Croix blanks. St. Croix is one of the companies that builds a better quality rod for a production rod on the market today. They always have. Their fit and finish is always really good. They use quality parts and they have a good blank. The problem I have is they're just like every other production company. Each rod blank is an individual, just like a person, different from the next. So there's no way that you can put the guides on every one of them and it always be right. There's some of them that just the guides are going to be in the wrong spot, period. And they still do that. You just can't do that. Each rod needs to be built separate from the last one. The way you can get the guide spacing correct, make the rod work like it's supposed to. But they're probably, them and TFO right now are probably two of the top ones on the market for panfish stuff. Now, with that being said, I've been looking for some blanks to try out that everybody's not using. And I found some Falcon rods that I really like the action. They're fairly sensitive. They're not as sensitive as St. Croix, but they're not $150. The problem with them is you really have to watch them because I broke 4 of them. They keep replacing them. But that doesn't fix the problem that I'm not putting my name on something that breaks that often. I just ain't gonna do it. So I like the feel of it. I can balance it with a reel and make it feel correct, but the quality is just not there. It's very sensitive. Um, it just ain't what I'm looking for. I thought it was. In fact, I thought it was enough that I contacted the company and tried to get them to sell them blanks to me, and they wouldn't.
No,
They wouldn't. A lot of these companies will, but they make you take a gross of them at a time. Well, it's hard to buy that many rod blanks because what's the chance you find that many people want the same one? Everybody wants something different now. And catfish rods, there's 3 or 4 that standards you can kind of buy and get away with. And to make them like people want them, you used to get them in all in 8-foot lengths, but with the shipping now, they're on 8-foot stuff and above, you have to pay freight price. I just have them cut them off to 7'6" to get away from that. So,
and there's a difference between a combo that you got to hold on to and cast all day, than when you just sit in a rod holder, which is the biggest difference between catfish rods and other species rods. So keep that in mind, folks.
yeah.
One of the fishing a drop shot, you'll notice sensitivity in a rod right away. Away. As soon, because you got a tight line directly connected to the bottom, you're going to feel the bottom when you're casting, or whether you're dropping it right off the side of the boat. And when that fish, if you got a good sensitive combo set up that's balanced and sensitive, it's going to feel like a jolt of electricity come through that rod when they bite on that. So that's where I notice it the most. So,
Mark, I mentioned that the TFO and the St. Croix are 2 of the better quality production rods on the market today. And they are. There's no question about it. But I have to tell you, I had the opportunity to use a B&M rod the other day, super sensitive, they call it. Super sensitive.
Super Sam's, right? I believe.
Yeah. That rod is very sensitive for an inexpensive rod. Very sensitive for an inexpensive rod. I need to look it up and see the modulus of graphite that's in that is because it's very forgiving rod. It's got great action on it. The thing I didn't like about it, it's 7'6". I prefer a 7 foot or a 6'6", and I like 2-piece, which that one was a 2-piece. It just makes them easier to haul. But yeah, I was impressed with the sensitivity on that. Of course, it's like everything else. It needed one more guide, you know. And that doesn't mean that all these guys seem to think you got to have 9, 10, 15 guides on a rod blank. That is the most ridiculous thing that a rod company can do, or people could even ask for. One guide per foot plus the tip for anything other than ultralight and light action, and then it's 2 guides per. There's no reason, if you're putting more guides on that, you're just trying to overcome the shortcomings of a cheap ass blank.
You basically, correct me if I'm wrong, you just want to keep the line off the blank, right, at all times.
Yeah, and with spinning rods, it's not nearly as critical, but you're trying to make the arc when it bends over as smooth transition as you possibly can. And sometimes even them rules are wrong. You have to add one, even take them away. I've took them away on some of them that didn't require that many before, to get them to cast right or feel right or get the arc when you bend it. And I used to put a reel on it, tie the line to something like the bottom of my building bench, and rear back on it and look to see the arc. And if it's not right, then I'll move the guide up or back or wherever it needs to be to make the arc right. Now with casting rods, you never want that line to touch the blank. You just don't.
That's harder because if you guys haven't noticed, casting rods have smaller eyes just because that line rides
closer to the blank.
Yep, the line leaves a reel closer to the blank, so they got to accommodate for that. Heather's got a question for you. Lila says, "What's the best crappie rod, and where do I get it at?"
I'll hook you up.
I was gonna say I might know a guy. Let's see what Lance says here. Lance says, "I'm looking for a good pier fishing rod for casting for salmon, brown trout, and steelhead." Now, this is what I like. My favorite rod for that is a Fenwick, and it's a 9.5 footer, 2-piece rod with a 3000 series Stradic. That might be a little overkill on the reel, but I'm telling you, I can empty that spool with a 1 ounce spoon, Lyle. That's casting, with 15-pound test line, 20-pound test line. I can peel every ounce of that line off of that rod with that.
If there's a company on the market today that makes a blank as good as St. Croix or better, it would be Fenwick.
Fenwick, good stuff. I'm real happy with that. I forget the name. MTX maybe is the name of the rod series. I'm not sure, Lance. I could go look in the garage later if you want to message me, but I'm real happy with that rod. I use it everything from pier fishing to jigging lead spoons off the side of my boat for salmon, and I'm been very happy with it. So, and it'll handle a pretty big fish, ain't gonna lie. my PB, what is it, 24.5 pound king came on that rod, and that was a heck of a fun fight with that. So I think it's a medium too, Lyle. It's not a medium heavy or a light. It's a straight medium. So
I'm not sure. I didn't know that for salmon and that you use the same caliper rod that you use for brown trout and steelhead. I thought salmon would require much heavier action rod.
Them trout get pretty big too, and steelhead are basically just pelagic rainbows, if I'm not mistaken. There's all sorts of controversy off of them. When I mean by pelagic, I think they're supposed to go out to the ocean and come back, but when they're on the Great Lakes, they don't. But they still call them steelhead though, so they look different even too. So.
Yeah, I'm not very familiar with steelheads. I've never fished for them there. I don't think I've ever even seen one in real life. But I'm sure I haven't. Yeah.
If you're pure fishing, you want to cover a lot of water like Danny Stone does on the Mississippi. You want to be able to get that spoon or whatever you're casting way out there, and you want to be able to control where it is in a water column, whether it's low and slow like for a trout, or jigging it off the bottom like you do for a salmon, and that rod kind of fits the bill for all of that. At least for me, it does. So,
Right.
but yeah, Fenwick rods are great. I've never had a Fenwick rod I didn't like. So.
No, I can't remember ever seeing one broke. I'm sure they break some. Everybody breaks something.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think I've ever seen a Fenwick blank break. And very few St. Croix.
Well, I broke St. Croix panfish rod, like 3 of them, and I quit buying them because I kept dropping the door on my rod locker in my boat and snipping the tip off of it.
That's not the blank's fault, though. That's
no, it's not. It's this knucklehead's fault.
Yeah, kind of like the one that I've been using for catfish rod. You shut them in the tailgate. It doesn't matter what brand it is.
Yeah.
There ain't much you can do about that.
I had some catfish rods up in upright rod holders in my boat, my old boat, and let me tell you what, backing into the garage and forgetting them there doesn't help a rod out either.
I'll tell you something else that'll get them. Is go through McDonald's driveway and pull your boat drive through and pull your boat through. Man, it makes some racket.
It sure does. I gotta admit though, my Uncle Lou rods, they definitely they were the only ones that were in there that withstood my garage, 7-foot garage when I backed it in there. So good deal, Uncle Lou.
Is he still selling rods?
I think he is.
Is he? Okay, I wasn't sure. I hadn't heard anything out of anybody talking about it.
I think he is. I know he was complaining about some tariffs, but we're not going to get into that tonight because we've been live already for an hour, Lyle.
Okay.
You got anything else for the folks at home?
I would love to get into that tariff thing.
I know. There's a whole slew of topics we could get into, but that's going to be for another channel if we ever start it.
I'll tell you what, folks, do not let hey, Joe Buck, a member, $35. Thank you so much, old buddy. We appreciate it. Don't let this cool weather deter you from going fishing. If you get a chance, go out and go. If it's a little cold, just put a heavier jacket on, maybe some coveralls, something like that. But go. This is a great time to be catching fish.
My last thing for tonight. Thank you, Joe Buck, for all your support. My last thing I'm going to leave everybody with is I was at Costco the other day, Lyle, and they had long johns on sale. That's all I'm going to say. Now's the time of year. Go over to Costco and get you some long johns. On that note,
thanks for watching, everybody.
Go fishing. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
See you next week.